We are starting soon.
Hello and welcome back to another Album Book Club album review. That was stupid. Today we're taking a look at Don't Let Them See You Cry by the Boondocks. This is, I believe, a two-piece band from New Zealand. Is that... Anybody can fact check that?
That's what I remember
pretty
reading.
Sure. Yeah. This was a suggestion from our interview with Coast Arcade.
Yeah, it's a duo.
That's what I thought. Cool.
Sorry, I'm not on the Wi-Fi. It took a little while.
Sorry.
Gotta keep the live up.
Mm-hmm. All right. We ready to get started?
I believe so.
All right. We'll kick it off with our top three. I had Jesus, Minnie Dean, and Bombs.
I had Let Me Know, Jesus, and Bombs.
I have Sticks and Stones, Let Me Know, and Hell of a Time.
All right. Move on to our bottom songs. Carl, I'm sorry. Sticks and Stones.
I had The Hills.
I have Mr. Feelgood.
Wow, very diverse
Say
group there.
pretty good spread.
Yeah, think so. Should be a good one.
All right. Let's get started. Didn't even realize I was on the wrong camera. Oops. Get it started with track number 1, Mr. Feelgood. I give this one a 7.
I gave it a 7.5.
I gave this one a 6.
I want to start off with, I love the energy in the song, and that's going to carry out pretty much the rest of this album. It really doesn't let up until the end, which is interesting for this show, but we'll see how that does.
I will say there's one point the energy stops in this one. There's like a transition into the breakdown that the song just like stops, and then they say the name of the album, and then it builds back up, which was kind of cool, but it felt like it was put in last minute. So that was one of my negative notes. I did really like the energy, like you said. I love the tempo ramp getting back into the end. I just don't love the mix on this one, I think, and it gets better, but this one's just very muddy. There's a lot of vocal distortion. This is very reminiscent of other things. I don't know what artists they were going for here, but the combination of kind of the muddiness of all the rhythm section and then the vocal distortion just wasn't for me, I guess.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the energy. A lot of my complaints with this song were really just on the compression, but it felt like they were hitting the style they were going for, so I didn't really know whether to count that as a positive or negative, and it just went with a neutral on it. Other than that, the song is just a lot of fun. It's got the good build after the chorus section there, like Carl said. I did find that it sounded best at 84 decibels, which is damaging to the ear at that point, so keep that in mind. But it sounded good, and it opened up when it was loud. It just needs that headroom to do it. You know, it's hitting the limiter on my AirPod, and it sounded real good at the top there.
Actually, I did multiple listens this week just because of the nature of this week. So I have insight on AirPod, car speaker, and the Sony's, and
That's gone.
In the car, I did not notice the compression issues, but everywhere else I did. It was most noticeable in AirPods. The Sony's, it was there, but it felt like the Sony's just doing what the Sony's does.
Mm-hmm.
Until you get to the next song, at least. And then the car, it actually sounded pretty good on. It almost made it onto some playlists, but like most of the rest of the album did. So
Yeah, had the next track not fixed my mix issues, usually if I get kind of bummed about something like that, I go and listen to reference tracks or something I can think of that's similar. That's something I know what it sounds like. Just make sure my ears aren't off that day. That's definitely happened before. But no, it fixes it in the next track, so I didn't even have to do that today.
Speaking of, next track, unless we have anything else. Cool. Second best, I gave this one an 8 out of 10.
I give it a 7.75.
I give this one a 7, but I'm going to bump it up to a 7.5 now that I realized second is in the title and it's track 2.
I wrote down Second Beast, and I was so confused as to why that was the title for so long.
I wish it was Second Beast. That'd be sick. This one's got similar energy that the first track brought, and pretty much copy-pasted that note until the last song. I think on my main listen, where I wrote everything down, I didn't realize I had forgotten about the mix issue from the AirPod listen, so I didn't have any notes about that, but I think I just generally liked this song better, and even sitting here I can't remember the like main melody to Mr. Feelgood, but this one is still stuck in my head from earlier.
Oh, I missed a good note on Mr. Feelgood. Did he lose his doctorate for some reason?
His doctorate in drugs.
All right, sorry, we can go on now. I don't know. I think the mix was just clearer here, and I think that made me happier. There wasn't any goofy transitions or anything. In fact, most of the transitions were awesome. And like you said, there's just a lot of momentum building here. And I love the energy they bring. That's all the notes I had.
Yeah, this one was either a weird, fun minor progression or a completely different mode, and that was a lot of fun. Dig that a lot. Other than that, not too much other than the drive was super great about this song. You know, the mix itself, while a lot clearer, I do feel there was a very vocal front heavy problem. And I think they nailed the exact right volume with the vocals. I think everything else just needs to be completely turned up. Drums are gone. Guitar is barely there. And bass might as well be in the next continent, man.
That is true. I felt like I didn't have a hard time hearing the drums as much, but the
I think
guitar
it's 'cause
definitely
you know
like
they're there though. If a song
that's
didn't
fair.
have drums, you would feel it. So you kind of feel when they're there and you hear them because you know they're supposed to be there.
That's fair.
I also am fairly sure the drums are sample replaced and the bass is real. So generally, when they're sample augmented or not, when they are sample augmented or just samples, they tend to cut through a lot better. I'm fairly sure just because of how much the drums were up over other things in the mix. Either that or just whoever mixed the drums was awesome.
I think the guitar, though, it had moments where it was like fully featured, which I think at least in the context of this show, we've had plenty of albums that doesn't happen for, and we just lose the guitar. So I guess that kind of took over in my brain instead of, oh, I can't hear it. It was like, oh, I can hear it sometimes.
Yeah. This is just like the equivalent of a cake with too much icing on it, you know? It's like, I like a little bit of icing, but I want to get to the meat of it. It just feels like there's so much of that top layer that all of the rest of the song was just so hidden.
There's actually a really good note for that in the whole album. There's a lot of stuff they do that's really cool, but then they do it 4 times. And you're like, oh, you know, if you had not done it the first time, maybe done it the second time, something like that. If you had give us the absence of the cool stuff, sometimes we'll notice it more.
That's true.
A lot of the stuff they do is awesome. It's just when you hear it 4 times, you kind of go, oh, you know, the guitar playing's like that, the drumming's like that, and even some of the arrangements are like that.
Still hung up on Logan eating a cake made of meat.
I would eat a cake made of meat. That's probably the best thing. I don't do sugar too much. Just give me a protein cake.
I think it's a pie. Sorry, they're making pies in Sweeney Todd.
Oh yeah, meat pies. I can mess up a chicken pot pie. Hold up. All right.
Now that we're very off track.
So let's get through this album review so we can go get chicken pot
Go get
pies.
a chicken pot pie. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we have Hell of a Time. I give this one 7.
I gave this one a 7.
I give this one a 7 3/4.
Oh
Ooh.
wow.
This one, I didn't have any like general notes on this other than the energy still being good. I think I like this one a little less than the first two, but they use the like underwater sounding fuzz effect on the vocal the correct amount.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it overdone, we've seen it underdone. I listen to a lot of things where it's done correctly, and this is one of them.
Bass guitar was front and center on this one for like a second there. I was happy about that, very happy. The actual guitar riff itself was very fun, and it's this far into music, coming up with a unique, catchy, fun, original guitar riff is pretty hard, and they got it on this one. My biggest problem just came with the actual vocal cadence itself. Just suffered from a couple pauses for turnarounds or breaths that I don't think were maybe necessary. Flow would have been a lot better in the actual cadence had they just snuck a breath somewhere else, or just fried out their vocals naturally instead of having a fake vocal fry added on and stuff like that.
I actually have a note about that later. There's some interesting iambic pentameter in some of the later songs.
I don't know what the heck that
So
word
you made
means.
that word up.
I did not make that
You made
word
at least
up.
one of those words.
Yeah,
up.
no. Basically, how the words flow together, and there's a lot of like putting emphasis on different syllables and stuff. Now that I know they're from New Zealand. Wow, that was terrible. Now that I know that they're from New Zealand, it could just be some sort of quirk between the dialects, I guess, of English there. But there's some interesting notes about just the general vocal cadence I have later on, not on this track.
So yeah, I will make a note. That was not a negative or a positive.
Right.
I just did not love the vocal cadence.
There's somewhere on here where I almost wrote it down. It's like the first line to a song has a cadence that, if this were a rap album, would get torn apart. But since it's not, I was like, it's fine. And they fix it immediately after.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's way later. I don't remember. I didn't write it down, so it's a scavenger hunt for anybody who cares.
I'm trying to think of which track it is now. I don't know. I don't remember. Also, what I was writing while you guys were talking, I completely messed up my top 3. I'll explain that in a second. But this song was just a jam. Back on Hell of a Time here. The bridge is well written. I really liked the ending. This just kind of felt like the rock song I was looking for during the first 2 tracks, I think. And that was exciting. I can explain the top 3 thing if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Basically, I read 8 as a 6, so a song that should have been in the top 3 was not.
Which track was that?
Bombs. It's our next track.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep, let's get to Bombs. I would have switched over, but the headphone cord got stuck, and I was fixing that. That's why there was a weird pause between after what you said and before the next thing that you said. But Bombs, I gave it an 8.
I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I gave it an 8, not a 6.
Yeah, we were just talking about the problem of not being able to hear the guitar. I did not have that problem on the song, and I really liked the guitar tones on this one. Vocals are still doing what they've been doing, which I am a fan of, and it's still kind of keeping the energy up. Nothing has stopped that, and nothing will.
Yeah, there's so much energy. That guitar riff's killer. The way they put the breaks in here, it was almost more in a bluesy way. It wasn't just like a random break in the middle to say something vocally. It worked a lot better. And this has a wash ride section in it that just goes so hard for absolutely no reason other than it being good. But I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, goes hard. There's a lot of gain on things here. I think it's done correct for the most part. Bass could probably use just a hair less, but I think that's so you can get actual clarity that it's bass, not so that you can get less gain. I don't think the gain is the issue there. really just needs the bass knob turned up.
That's why all good bass overdrives have a clean blend.
The chorus itself is very good. And then towards the end, like towards the second third of this song, there's a minor turnaround or a refrain. I'd call it a refrain, but it's a turnaround as well. It just is very well done. It's not something you'd expect, especially given how much of this is kind of like driven to get that level of like music theory knowledge to do that, have it properly fit in there and be really well done and pulled off when we're looking at almost punk-esque songs with just crazy music theory you can't hear. It's a little nuts.
I don't have anything. Sorry, I'm nodding.
Sorry. All right. Moving on to Bear With Me. I gave it a 7.
Oh, shoot. I gave this one a 6.
I give this one a 7.
I forgot this is where the albums got differed.
I can start on this one. It's funny. This has still got the same energy. It's still moving forward. It's doing all that stuff. Just the down-tuned guitar here is... there's something about where it is in the mix that is just eating everything alive. And I really didn't like the weird envelope filter thing going on at the end. It just was random. There's a lot of random transitions, and that one was really random for me.
I did not have a ton of notes about this one. The biggest one is that I think the guitar in the last song is more interesting than this one. I had a hard time, not getting into it, but coming off of the last one, I was like, this one's kind of just okay comparatively. I still like it, still like the vocals, still got the energy, but it's not quite a thumbs up, but it is... yeah, it might be because of it being after one that I really liked.
I was going to say, it sounded like I hated this. I did not hate this. This was a good track.
This was my thumbs up. The compression on this one killed it on AirPods. It was bad until it was loud, and when it was loud, it was loud, you know. It was a good jam itself, though. This is the song that has made me pretty much make my mind about this album go. It sounds like a song through an Xbox, like an original Xbox jukebox channel. If you had that, you know what it does to songs. It compresses the heck out of all of them. You still know what's all there. It's all good song underneath. It's just being choked out. And that was my biggest problem with this one. Everything that could have been shining through got drowned out by itself.
Yeah, there's a certain point where if you keep turning things up louder, they can't get louder anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think this track suffers from it. I think the first track did too a little bit. Just the everything is so loud that not everything can be in the front.
That makes sense.
But I mean, the whole album, it doesn't jump volumes from track to track or anything crazy. It's just in the mixing process. You know, that's some of it. Sometimes you gotta sculpt room for other things.
All right. Okay.
Not a bad track though. We're nitpicking. It's really funny. You can tell we like an album because we sit here and nitpick stuff like that.
I will say, throughout all of the complaining of compression, not once has it ever been about the vocals. And I think that may be where my problem also lies, is that the vocals are perfectly fine. Everything else is compressed to hell.
All right. Moving on to Sticks and Stones. I gave this one a 6.
I gave this one a 6.
I gave it an 8 1/4.
I do think that this one suffers from a problem we will get to towards the end, which is this is the 6th track that is, I'm going to say, built the same way in a row. I'm not going to call it fatigue yet because that's coming up, but I think we've had 6 very similar songs in a row, and it's all a good thing, but how long can you listen to the same good thing?
So it's funny, this one actually gave me a fatigue break because it's got this really cool kind of drop in it. It's got a lead up. It's got the cool bridge to the leads into the chorus. The energy's great. I think it's a little lower at this point. It mellows out a little bit, but it needed it at this point. And then I really liked the scratchy vocals, the kind of raspy, because it's not fake, I don't think. I think he's doing that with his voice, and he sounds good doing it. I just appreciated that they took the time to build and have a little more room for artistic expression here, because a lot of the other songs, there's cool stuff going on, but it just kind of appears and then disappears. This one seems to let it build and kind of develop a little bit more.
I think this one was missing some moxie, man. It needed that it factor for this song to set it as this song instead of just a song. I think this felt like, I don't want to say it felt like one of the other songs on this song or on this album. It just felt like a song on this album.
Yep.
You know, not like a track to define the band, not a track to define this album, just one to go there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just think it was a good track otherwise. It just needed, I can't tell you what it needed, to be quite frank. I don't know. It's just something that's been there for every other song was very tellingly missing from this one. And I don't know what. It was just the feel of something. Maybe too many things were changed out or too many things were re-recorded, and they've been doing these other songs in bigger sections and chunks. That could be it. It could just be that, you know, one guy did everything on this track instead of both of them. But something's just off.
Yeah, you said it way better than I did. The last note here is just still good. Maybe could be thumbs up emoji. It didn't end up being, but it was close. All right, we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next song is Jesus. I gave it an 8.5.
I gave it an 8.
6.5. So we had our burnout at
Yep.
different times on this album. That's what happened.
I thought that this one was different enough. Pretty much exactly what Carl said for the last one. Put it here. We just had. He's right. We just had it at different times.
Yeah. My big problem with this one is this one's the one with the emphasis on the wrong syllable. You know, there's just a lot of there's a lot of like vocal things that the pitch is going the wrong way to end words sometimes, and there's just weird stuff that just. It's not that it's bad. It was just like, oh man, why that choice? I don't know. It also lost half a point because the drummer's been killing it the whole album, and then plays the most like stock drum solo I've heard in a long time. But I did really like the octave fuzz, so those two things canceled out.
This was the one that we were talking about earlier, where there's a break section where everything stays the same except the vocals drop out, which is super weird in the middle of this track.
Is this the one we're talking about where the mix completely changes in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then that would have been part of the reason too. I just didn't write it down. There's a point in this one where it like becomes a different song for like 10 seconds and then goes back. And it's like the whole mix opens up and then closes back down. It's really odd.
Yeah.
I won't say it's not cool. It just was weird.
It was weird on an album where nothing even remotely close to that has happened before
Yeah, right.
and will not happen again.
Yeah, the big thing on this song was a guitar solo. We got a good guitar solo. It went real hard. It sounded pretty good. There was still a lot of compression, you know. I'm being choked out at this point by it. It's getting egregious. And yeah, the vocals getting all screwy in the breakdown. I genuinely thought it was my AirPods tweaking when I first listened. I was like, I'm not gonna write that note down, but I did write that it has an interesting breakdown-esque section. Because I don't know how to phrase it any better. It's not a breakdown, because usually when you break down, you add compression, and then you open it back up. They opened it up and then closed it back off. It's a break-in.
Break up instead of a breakdown. Is that what you're going for?
No, man. It broke in.
It broke in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how screwy it is. 'Cause they added more compression. Who does that?
Well, I can think of a few producers, but I don't like a lot of them.
Next album, Yapcast. Producers Carl hates.
It's a long list.
One.
Yeah, it's a long list.
Yeah. Other than that, great song. Loved it. Banger.
Yeah, the octave fuzz comment about the guitar solo is dead on. I almost wrote Logan will like the guitar solo, but instead I put octave fuzz. So I thought that was kind of a funny point to.
Wow. Almost like the pedal I own. Would have been perfect to recreate this solo.
So they might have used it.
It's a shout out to one of our own videos too. When we
It
did
is.
the fuzz shootout with your pedal.
Oh, yeah.
It's the big furry orange one.
Yeah, fun fact. Doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
Was that before or after the Azor video? Or Azor?
It was after that one.
It-
Pedal?
No, it was before it.
As I say, the cattle definitely would have been in the mix if we'd done it before.
We would have thrown it in the mix, yeah.
Yeah.
Upload wise, I thought it was after.
Upload doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, we filmed it before. Yeah, because I've
oh,
sold
yeah,
a
you're right,
couple.
it was the same as the other Carson
Oh,
videos.
nice fuzz pedal moment. I've sold a couple of those pedals since, and have acquired more. I have more fuzz. So
I was just gonna jokingly say we could do another one, but Carl's kind of
We-
that's making a thing.
we really could. Yeah, we probably could because we've got some cool stuff in the
We're
last few
putting
months.
the metal muff in there.
Yeah, you got a metal muff. We got you just got a Hello Kitty,
Yep.
and I got that tuna can fuzz. We got some cool stuff. Yeah, well, tell us if you want it. Anyone watching?
Fuzz 2. Electric Boogaloo.
That will be the title. Bring the fuzzes tomorrow. We ready to move on?
Yep.
Next up is The Hills. I gave this one a 6.5.
Gave this a 5.
I give this one a 7.
I'm going to get this out of the way. This is probably the most notes I have written down for a thumbs up plus ever.
The burnout hit.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, what better time to hit right before the theoretical slowdown and the last track?
The fake out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest. I really don't like a single bit of the vocals on this song. They're not bad. I just don't like them. Other than that, it's just like a lot of different sounds that are there, but don't really feel exactly put together to me. Then there's a weird droning section. Don't get it. I think I was just so burnt out and lost that this was I was looking at a picture trying to find the deeper meaning, and instead of even seeing anything, my eyes just fuzzed out, and I got mad about it.
Nice. I was only laughing because I think that's what I like to get in this song is some of the artistic expression and the time to build, all that stuff. Because it's cool when they do it here. The drum parts are really cool and really driving in this one. Other than there's a part where he goes to or I guess they go to a quasi double time. They're playing quarter notes, and then they go back to regular time, just playing on 2 and 4, and then they switch to a half time where they're only hitting the snare on 3. And when you've gone from all of that, it almost feels like quarter time. And that halftime section during the drones, it's just it almost pulls you back, and it's such an interesting thing. I don't know if I like it or hate it. It's as a plus or minus just because of how weird this one feels, even though it stays the same tempo.
This song did get specifically way longer about halfway through. It was like a never-ending hallway,
Mm.
Yeah, I did really enjoy the jam ending too. But this was kind of a weird, the way it when you do that, you kind of mess with the linearity of your perceived time listening to an album if you make a jump that big within one track that quickly. And I think that's exactly what happened. I think I liked it and Logan hated it.
Yeah, this one suffers from, we haven't had a break from this sound in 8 songs.
Yeah.
Real bad, which we'll get into it both in the next song and in the pacing scoring, but it's still good, and I can still recognize that this is a good song, but in the context of this album, I was a little sick of this sound. But it took this long to happen, so not too bad.
Also, Chad, you're dead on. The band does sound like I bet the band would be fun to see live.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
This is another one of those bands that I really don't think this album captured what they sound like. I think they tried to get to what they wanted it to sound like, but ideally a live show is probably exactly what they want.
Yeah. I think a lot of the power and driving nature of the thing would make you forget. I mean, because this album's only half an hour total.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as much fatigue as we are getting, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, they did do that very smart. You know, we talk about it all the time. I was like, if you're gonna go this hard, if you're gonna fry it, make it short, make your statement. And they did it pretty well for me to get 8 tracks in before even like getting a semblance of like crash out, burn out, whatever you want to call it. Pretty good.
All right.
Sorry, I'm not trying to take too much away from pacing. I could talk a lot more, but I figure we will in a minute.
No, I was gonna say we should probably save pacing for the actual pacing score.
Pacing.
Too many times do we skip. Next up, Mini Dean. Unless autocorrect got me on something.
No, I wrote
Is that
Mini
right?
Dean
Okay,
down
cool.
too.
I wrote Mini Ocean, but I don't understand how I got to that from Dean, so we're just going to move on.
All right, Mini Ocean. I gave an 8.5.
Give it 6.5.
I gave this one a 7.5.
Listen, I was sick of hearing the sound, and they at least switched it up for the beginning of this. They probably could have moved this one higher up in the album order, which I think would have fixed the problem with the last song. That's my pacing soapbox for this song. We'll get to the rest of it later. It's a good almost wind down song, and then they kind of fake you out at the end, which it probably could have stayed a wind down song and done it a little better, but I still liked it.
I'm choosing to see track 10 as a bonus track.
Okay, interesting. Well, then if we're doing that, then this is a pretty good ending. It kind of slows it down and then picks it back up for one last, well, the same that we've been having. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the vocal cadence weirdness came back. I think he's doing something with pitch bends that aggravated me. That's something I get aggravated with all the time. I hate it when anyone does it. So nothing against this album. But they did one of my favorite things, and they gave me what I describe as buffaloes. I don't know how to explain that to someone without explaining the whole story, but basically, like, it's almost like a bait and switch. So, like, they give you this huge hit that should land on 1, but it comes in on 2. And I think they do it 4 or 5 times. And it's one of the coolest things to hear in a song is, like, it just that delayed thing. It's so fun when you do it right, and they nailed it on this song. I don't know why I call it a buffalo, but it's what it is when it comes in on 2.
Yeah. Intro was solid. There's a fun, cool guitar riff that sounded like it was straight out of Saw. That was pretty cool. Enjoyed that. At one point, they just go, "Hey," so I said hello. Other than that, I think this is another case of too much icing on the meat cake. And there's like this weird harmonic siren squeal thing that if it would have happened once, twice, 3 times tops, it would have been fine. It was like every 5 seconds for the last 45 seconds of this song. And it drove me through the roof. It sounded like they heard something in like a Knocked Loose song. We're like, yep, I want that. But then they took off, 10 layers of distortion. It just sounded just so weird. Didn't really fit. It wasn't my favorite choice.
I don't have anything. I'm just thinking about how funny it is that I said this song had 4 or 5 buffaloes, and then you said there's too much icing on the meat cake, and we're basically speaking nonsense again. We need to fix ourselves a little bit.
If you haven't watched every episode of the podcast, you have no idea what we're talking about.
No, that's the thing. My reference was to today's episode.
Carl's references to something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, I'm not a part of the water buffalo tribe to understand, man.
Yeah, I actually don't know what part of what weird musical career I was taught that, or whoever said it. I don't know why that stuck with me. Random things do, and I call random things sometimes.
So like a Ted Nugent thing? Does that happen a lot in Great White Buffalo?
I don't know. I think it has to do with like when. Oh, it has to be from Drumline, because there would be stuff we would do it, and it was almost like a delayed bass drop, almost like reggae would do. Mm-hmm. So we would come in with the tubas on count 2, and it always was like this huge thing, because everything would just drop out and it'd be really shrill, and then we'd all landed, but we'd all play dead when we did it. So I guess that's why it was a buffalo. But do buffalo do that? Do they play dead before attacking you? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they just run at you and go, ah, and they kill you.
I don't know. I explained it and it makes even less sense now. What is the line from, which one is that? Is that that's Billy Madison. Said, not only is everything you said entirely wrong, but we are now dumber from having listened to it.
Yeah.
That is exactly what just happened.
I'll do the band a favor and not put that clip out of context in the Monday, Wednesday reel.
I think it's great bait and switch. I think it's a great buffalo.
That's true. I'll see what I can do. All right. Last track. Let Me Know. I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 9.
I give it an 8.
Classic slow song ending. A little out of place on this one, but I think I was slower.
I'm not saying classic slow song ending as in like that's wrong. I'm saying like cowboy slow song's a little weird. But I do dig it.
This was You Got a Friend in Me, but 100% accidentally. Because I didn't notice it till about halfway through, and the guitar player certainly had figured it out by then, because he played like one lick that was like the telltale giveaway. Like, oh, one of them figured it out. This was the singer's song. It was quite hilarious.
But I 100% did think it was going to be like the emo song on the album. Like I thought that
would make sense.
I thought that's what it was going to be, because that's not even it's just a lot of like pop punk albums, I guess, that they end with a really slow, really sad song that's really heartfelt. And I kind of thought that was what this was going to be until the acoustic guitar came in. And I think I literally wrote down, hell yeah, it's acoustic cowboy time. I was just so for it, because I expected it to be this whiny thing, and it was fun.
I have expected the guitars to come back, and it's another fake out right after the fake out.
I did think they were going to build it back up
for like a solid minute and a half there that I was going to get screwed over.
But they didn't.
No. I think they nailed this one. It's one of those things where it's like, it's the same as last week, where it's like, until I was presented with that as an option, I would have never thought it. But you know what? Heck yeah, I'll take cowboy song to end pseudo pop punk. I don't even know, punk rock, alternative, early 2000s divorced dad rock style music.
I don't think all that would fit in the
yeah, that's
title
too
for
long
the
for the
video.
title. New kids call that alternative music, I guess.
Probably. That's what Apple Music probably calls this jazz somehow.
I said I didn't even look at the tag this
Neither did
week.
I.
What's it say? Rock.
Okay.
That's fitting.
That's one of its better calls.
But yeah, I think this is not trying. I think that most of this album is very like 2000s rock-esque, and it fits it very well. But the cowboy ending's just right.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember what album it was, how many weeks ago it was, because I'm going through my notes, and I don't know if it goes back far enough. But we had one not too long ago that had like this like camping song vibe as the last song, where they were like singing along and stuff.
Was it Willie?
No, oh no. Don't make me.
That alone has just made 3 people mad. Let me check the videos.
It's not Deloused.
Oh no.
It's not Paris,
Was
Texas,
it,
Georgie and the Dragon, the Cross.
I'll say, was it Georgie and the Dragon?
I don't think so. But see, I'm thinking, because now I don't think it
No,
would
Georgie
be.
and the Dragon was They Fought the Dragon.
I didn't
That
know if
was
there was
the
one.
last
I didn't know if
track.
there was one after it where they were like celebrating. I couldn't remember.
I just looked.
I mean, I'm all the way back to By the Way, and I haven't found it, so it may not be in this notebook.
Is it Closure in Moscow, maybe? No, that's like Street
No.
Fighter Groove.
No, this only goes back
Closure
to
in Moscow has a crazy ending. It's like the like K-pop song.
Mm-hmm.
This only goes back to Aquabats, and it's that thick. It was funny. I got to D-Labs and I forgot how blue those pages are.
Well, the one prior to that was Power Train by Majestic.
Maybe I'm just completely misremembering something. Maybe I dreamed we had another album like this. That's been happening a lot lately. I've been getting weird deja vu. And apparently putting weird emphasis on the wrong syllables in my own speaking.
First thing that came to my head when you said campfire was "Thank God It's Friday" by
That's
Ice
what I
Kills,
thought,
but
too.
that was a year ago.
Yeah. And not the last. That was like the second song.
Yeah. And then maybe a Dope Lemon track,
No, it definitely wasn't that long ago.
So that might have.
or is that a different album that's got the campfire song?
I think that might be the one after the one we reviewed, if it is any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Also might be the newest one.
There's
I have
one
no
that for
idea.
sure has a visualizer of like a werewolf or something at like a campfire, or some
Yeah,
sort of vague semblance of
probably.
that.
Yeah, man. I
Wow,
don't-
somebody just tuned in. They have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, we're on Dope Lemon.
I have no idea. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
Pacing time.
It's pacing time. Overall, I gave pacing a 7 out of 10.
Give it a 6.5.
I gave it a 6.
The problem is I came up with like 3 or 4 different potential solutions to it, and
Mhm.
none of them are take songs off or add more songs. There's a lot of I think you could rearrange this album and just break it up a little bit. You take track 9 and put it like anywhere up, and it probably would fix a little bit of the fatigue towards the end. It's a lot of the same sound.
I just have a problem with like these mid-length. We've had a bunch of them back to back now, where it's like, this isn't even really an LP almost. I mean, it's.
I'd say this is an LP.
R-
10,
okay.
10 songs, 30 minutes. That's an LP.
But it's like you could have taken a couple things off and had a shorter, more enjoyable listen with no burnout. You could have changed things up with a different style track somewhere in the middle. I mean, you have the capability to do it. You've shown us these little snippets of different to alleviate that. You know, you could have expanded on your thoughts and made it longer and not just kept cramming it the whole time, given us some breaks. And it's not that any of it was bad. It's just weird. I think it could have been shorter or been longer. It's just a weird middle point where, you know, pacing for me, the whole thing is always, how long did it feel like I was listening to this? And if it feels longer and it's a high energy album, that's usually not a good thing. And that's what today's was.
I don't know. I feel like it felt shorter, but there was like one point towards the end where I was like, okay, come on, give me something else. And then the next song did, so I don't think I noticed it as much. But I think that moment could have been taken out just with a little reshuffling.
Yeah, I think as this album sits recorded, it is, or not recorded, as this album sits mixed, pacing is unfixable. I think you have 10 songs that no matter what I do, I'm going to get burnout. I'm hearing way too much of one thing. Even if I put the cowboy track in the middle and get the breakup even sooner, there's too much of one thing. Is that a bad thing? No. I think you have 31 minutes of 9 very stylized tracks and one finisher. I think this is clearly like a passion project thing. This is the first album. So this is a learning thing. I don't necessarily think it's bad to have a bad pacing score. But like I said, if you don't ease up on the compression, there's, in my mind, no way to fix pacing.
To be fair, I also don't think many modern albums get a good pacing score at all.
No,
I don't
they're
think,
not designed for it.
No, I don't think anyone puts together. And this is a collection of radio length singles, and you know all the energy you can get in 3.5 minutes on most of them. It's cool. It definitely, if this was 3 EPs and a bonus track, I 100% am down. You know, it's just how we view things here kind of skews things, especially when you compare it to something like Zeppelin, where you have big, long, extended tracks and breaks and all that stuff. And the rock genre is just too varied to have an all high energy album that isn't. I guess it isn't 80s flavored. Maybe that's the answer.
I said my big thing is just there's too many comparable things.
Yeah.
This, like I said, to me screams 2000s. But I mean, you said like Animals era Nickelback, which was the exact era I thought of.
Mid-aughts, yeah.
And then like Smashing Pumpkins was one that screamed in my brain. And it's just, there's a certain tone to those that they got. They understood it. But then they just did a little too much of the new to music, or not the new to music necessarily, the new to recording like a full album kind of thing. And that happens. That's just new steps. That's learning.
It is also weird because for an album to really evoke that decade for me, it would have had to brought nostalgia. And while I heard all of the references, they didn't mix it like those songs, and they didn't do the cheesy stuff that a lot of those songs do in the aughts. You know, I think less of Nickelback, but more of a lot of this reminded me of like Chevelle and 3 Days Grace, and you know, at points other bands around that era. There wasn't enough of that for me to feel nostalgic, for it to be that retro feel, which is such an interesting thing.
Like an ode to, not an I wish I was there, which I feel like is an art that should be capitalized on more than it is. I mean, there's bands like, South Arcade is the easiest example that always comes to my brain. Sorry, I was making sure I said the right arcade. But yeah, South Arcade is a band that gives the vibe that they really wish they were making music in the 2000s, and so all their music is trying to be like it came out from them, instead of this, which seems like a nod to the 2000s. It's like, hey, thanks for being our inspirations. Here's what we got from your music. And that's what I kind of liked about it more.
So it's interesting because, like, if someone gives me an album that is supposed to evoke the 80s, I want it to have cheesy synths. I want it to have dead drums. You know, I want it to have all those things that make that music that. Because a lot of the times when you're doing that and you do it halfway, you get kind of this generic thing. And I won't say this album sounds generic. I'm just saying in general.
I think if that's what you're going for, yeah. If you're going for an 80s album, then yeah, it needs to have that. I don't think these guys were necessarily going for a 2000s album. I think they were going for a rock album where all their influences were from the 2000s. So it just really shined through. It's the way that I'm not trying to always play like Eddie Van Halen, but I'm always playing like Eddie Van Halen.
I mean, that makes sense. You know, and then I'm probably more defensive about it because that was what I listened to during growing up and stuff. You know, that was that was my era. So,
I got Imagine Dragons.
Yeah.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. I grew up with the Black Eyed Peas, which, you know, that may be arguably worse for some people.
No. I actually don't think that's true at all.
Say not anybody here.
I said no one here. We all love the Black Eyed Peas.
I'm not going to hate on Imagine Dragons today. No.
Not today.
That's a whole Yapcast.
Yeah.
We're bringing in guests for that one.
Imagine Dragons themselves. All right.
Boy, I can't wait for that video. All right. Next up is album art. I gave it a 9.
I gave it a 7.
I gave it an 8.
It does all the things that we've been complaining about recently. It's weird how much this is like exactly all of the things that we've been saying. It's got the name of the album and the band. It's got a cool picture. I don't know what else you want.
I think this just looks like a metal album.
That is very true.
This to me looked a lot. I was expecting heavy when I loaded this up for the first time. Not, because it's not pop music, but not like radio rock is what I'd call it.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, no, you're good. No, I was just thinking of what I would call it because radio rock isn't exactly fair to it either. It's a little heavier than that. It's like what plays on new rock radio, but not radio.
I was just saying, I guess radio rock is not I don't mean like necessarily dad rock or like that kind of radio rock. I mean rock that's on the radio kind of later at night.
Yeah.
You're like Sirius XM. That's a thing, right?
Sure.
The kids still have that?
I don't know. We there were only 2 rock radio stations in my hometown. One was the Old Man station where every song sounded the same, but they were different songs. And then you had the station that would play 3 of those songs and 3 new songs, and they would play the same 6 songs 10 times a half hour. So, yeah, that math doesn't add up. Don't check me.
I just used to listen to a lot of CDs.
Still have a lot of CDs.
I think I went back. I've just gone backwards. I'm from like cassettes to vinyl. I still think cassettes are unmatched. Cassettes the best way to listen.
It is the highest fidelity true analog media, but yeah, unfortunately, everyone now is on the own your music thing, which is cool. I mean, I'm only saying, unfortunately, for me as a music owner, not as a musician. I appreciate it. Keep buying stuff, please. But like CD prices going up and stuff like that. So I bought most of my stuff when
CDs were like a quarter.
no, a store was going out. They weren't that cheap. Actually, no, they were considerably cheaper than that. But that's because the store was going out of business. The CDs were a dime, and I loaded up a shopping cart, and they didn't charge me. And they said $50, and I said sure. So I think I probably bought 600 CDs for $50 or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've paid $50 for one vinyl before.
To be fair, they were all used. I mean, it was like I don't even know how to explain it because there aren't any stores like this anymore. When places used to have CDs, it was like one of those stores. They went out of business. They did that. They had video games. They had books. It was just a big combination of things. And when they went out of business, everyone came in and swept up all the DVDs and put them on eBay and all that stuff. And no one wanted the CDs. They literally just were throwing them away.
It's just like a media store.
Yeah.
I miss when those used to exist. We went to one in Columbus I loved it. Had like DVDs all on this wall, Blu-rays all on this one, games all here, all behind the counter. It was,
Whole vinyl, 2 walls.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just in like a house too. That was the weird thing. It was in like a converted apartment building.
So this wasn't that at all. This was a chain, and the whole chain went under because this store was actually really profitable. It's called Hastings. But they even had they had guitar strings and drumsticks and like beginner guitars and I mean, it was just a really interesting. There was a coffee shop. It was kind of like if a Barnes and Noble and FYE, like what Best Buy used to look like before they had appliances, and then like EB Games, not even whatever terrible thing GameStop is now, were all together in one spot. I mean, it was just a place that everyone in the town was in all the time. I mean, I probably went 3 times a week. But the problem was everyone walked around, no one bought anything.
That's the problem with all those stores now.
Yep.
All right.
We've got some good rants tonight. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We've been filling our hour.
Yeah. We hit track 10 at 8 o'clock, by the way.
All right. Music overall. I gave it an 8 overall.
I gave it a 7.75.
I give it a 7.5. I mean, that's fair. We're all within half a point. That's pretty good.
I think I gave a lot more leeway than I probably should have because I saw what was underneath what I was given. And what I was given wasn't necessarily bad in any way. It was just, I would say 75% done to what should have been sent out. It needed another layer of polishing to be what I would say is a done product. Another pass over to find those minor mistakes of like, oh, too much. I'm not even saying the compression overall, but like the vocals dropping out in one song or the mix is changing or the fact that, you can hear a bass guitar for 3 seconds of this song and none other times in that. Just stuff like that. Just the last passes of something I think needed to go again. But I highly believe with 2 people having presumably mixed this themselves, they probably fried out their ears on hearing their own thing. We're like, it's perfect.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. As a first album, this is awesome. A lot of albums suffer from our review format. And again, I think if this was 3 EPs with a bonus track, if this was just the deluxe of 3 EPs put together, I'd give it a pass. I would, because it's a bunch of really good songs and a lot of really good songwriting effort. There's just a lot of... It doesn't make a lot of sense as a package. And there are some small songwriting things, some growing things, and there's some things that are quirks of the guys in the band that maybe I didn't appreciate. But for a first effort, I really enjoyed this. Knowing this is their first album, knowing it's a 2-piece, like, good job, guys.
Does look like 4 of these were singles prior.
All right, I'm not going to do my rant about release strategies, but know that if I knew that before, I would be mad.
So it does look like, yeah, they had 2 singles, an EP, 4 singles, an album.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this album. I think most, if not all of this is going on a playlist. And, I mean, I will definitely listen to this album again.
Oh, for
Almost
sure.
certainly.
Yeah,
See if I can get it for the studio.
I say I already have listened to it multiple times.
Mm.
When it was first suggested to us, I listened to it last week, or I don't know how many weeks it's been. Timelines are making less sense in my head these days.
Yeah.
But whenever we were first suggested to it, I listened to it that night. I was like, dang, I've listened to it like twice last week, and then another 2 times today for the review.
Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why some of your scores are the way they are, because you've listened to it 10 times.
I've listened to this so many times. I enjoy it. I think it's really good. But like I said, I can also be very critical of it in that same sense and say, I think what you've given me is good. I am expecting better for your sake, not mine, you know.
And I definitely will say they picked a genre we're really strong in. You know, this is something that we all listen to regularly, this genre of rock. And we all liked the album, but we're going to be more nitpicky and very much about what we like to hear in rock. You know, I come from prog rock, so all of my statements about I want the songs to be longer and develop your thoughts, you know, of course I want that. A lot of it's going to be just finding a style, and I want to say pick a lane and stay in it, because I enjoy bands that kind of break the mold a little bit, but
find your own voice
Finding the
and
voice.
learn how to make it belt.
yeah, just figuring out what the band's going to do as a group is going to be awesome, as a pair, a duo.
And we'll be there. Next album or EP, it'll probably be back on this show.
Yup.
Your friends in another band have infected you with us being there every time you do something.
Yeah. We're the greatest disease known to man.
Speaking of disease, we have awesome merch. No, I'm just kidding. We do need to do a merch read, though, if we're going to.
That is true.
Speaking of awesome merch, you can head over to our Album Book Club Fourth Wall store and pick up our Album Mug Club mugs, as well as our varsity wear, our new speed jackets, as well as all
It's behind the mic stand. I'm sorry.
as well as all previous seasons merch like our hats and other t-shirts and hoodies. We also have flags. I always forget about the flags.
Flags, mouse pads.
The mouse pads are sick.
I'd say Mousepad's got a shout out last week, I think.
That is, they've got a couple weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah, I like the Mousepads.
Mouse pads are good.
But the flags are your highlight for this week, so go check out our flags.
And if you guys have merch ideas, let us know. We'll design it. We'll get you some merch. We'll do it.
Video where we have to go through a bunch of merch suggestions and make them. Vote on if they're worth putting up or not.
I mean, whatever. That sounds fun, actually.
Could be.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that.
All right, what we listen
Alright.
to next week?
Next week. I'm going to have to say that again. Hold on. Next week, we are going to be reviewing This Won't Last Forever by Joan. This is a suggestion from one of our YouTube viewers. We've been sitting on this one for a while. It's about time we finally get around to it.
So, speaking of YouTube, this is the part where I do all the YouTube-y stuff, guys. We're so close to 1,000. We're trying to break that wall. Anything you do, whether it's a like, a comment, if you're not subscribed, please do that.
Hate comment.
I mean, sure. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Leave hate comments.
Yeah, I'll take the hate. I mean, I have opinions. People have opinions. Most opinions stink. That's a fact. So, leave your hate, whatever. Just anything we get, any interaction is going to help us a lot. So we do appreciate you whether or not you do it, but it would be nice.
All righty.
All right. See you next week.